Well, welcome to a Harry's Garage special because we're back at Silverstone Auctions for their sale that's happening in November. It's the NEC Classic online sale, as it gives its full title. It's not at the NEC because there's no NEC Classic show this year, and we're about to enter lockdown. So this is quite a different sort of sale, but we are filming this before lockdown arrives. And the sale is going to continue. I'll go into a few more details in a moment. But look at it, 150 something cars down there to go through. And this is quite a fun sale because having looked through the catalogue, I almost didn't know which ones to choose. There are so many sort of temptations at quite attractive prices. There are sort of not the £1 million cars here. There's those £50,000, £60,000 cars. You think, oh, I'd really like one of those. There's some at 30,000 and there's a few £100,000 cars plus. There's a wonderful collection of racing cars over there. Turbo 2, the Hero mid-engine car, they're all lined up there. 6R4 over there, 2 or 3 of those. Can't wait to go down there. So we're going to go down there in a moment. But I've started up here because here is some automobilia that's going to be at this sale as well. And it's from Sterling Moss. I'm lucky enough to have met Sterling Moss a few times, and he always had a very distinctive watch on. And here it is in the sale. It has a sort of strange strap that almost is cut away. It's like a lightweight version. He wore it, I think, 38 years, it says in the details. I can't believe that's in the sale. And there's also his passport as well, a Mr. S. Moss British passport. And whenever you see his signature, it's quite hard to spot. This is, Roy Salvadori, flamboyant, and this is Sterling Moss's signature here. Tiny. When he used to get him to do it, took him like 5 minutes and he was doing this. But that's how he signed everything. Now, the automobilia is, I think this sale is on the 14th, the Sterling Moss things, but the sale is actually on the 13th of November and the 14th of November. And because of the lockdown rules, it's all a bit tricky on the viewing side. You're allowed to view up to this Thursday, which I think is when this film will go out. And from then on, trade only are allowed to come to view the cars, but you can phone one of the consigners. They will give you a virtual viewing on the phone so you can walk around the car, look at the details, and apparently it's proving very popular with the overseas visitors because it's like very personal. They can hear the car start up and that sort of thing. So a little bit different. But anyway, lots of cars to go and have a look at. So let's go downstairs now. Well, first car I want to feature is this De Tomaso Pantera, 1971, and in this glorious colour, this orange. And this is one of the earlier cars. They sort of, a bit like the Countach, they sort of grew and got muscles as the production went on. But this is super clean, the early version. I think it's called the pre-L cars. 5.7 litre engine, 360 horsepower. And it just is one of those cars that appeals if you like the sort of Lotus Esprit or obviously the Countach or the Testarossa or those sort of things. But it's earlier than you imagine, 1971. But it's got this V8 lazy horsepower. And I think they're amazing value. They still remain amazing value because they built a few too many of them, I suppose. But this is guided at £65,000 to £75,000. You're paying £300,000 plus for a Countach. So yeah, do you have a Lotus Esprit but similar sort of money, or a Pantera, De Tomaso Pantera? I think that would win the pub car park challenge. And then down here, 3 M3s. Lovely examples. This one is actually in a group of 3 M3s entered by Nick Whale, who's Mr. Silverstone Auctions. He's got a tarmac rally car, a race car, and then this wonderful 1992 last of the line M3 in this white. This is only, I think it's just over 54,000 miles from new. Pristine. It's actually been prepared. I think Dick Lovett did a complete rebuild on it. It is beyond perfect. I think it really suits it in the white as well. Cloth interior, which I had in mine, and guided at £55,000 to £65,000. The only thing about that guide is the first lot. They're going to try and see if they sell all 3 M3s as one lot at 300 and something, 360,000 guide. If that doesn't sell as one lot, then you'll have the chance to bid on that individually. Or you might have this one. Another one, 1989, M3, different colour, metallic, sunroof, Leather interior on this one, 100,000 kilometres this one. It's been in Portugal, unrestored, seems utterly straight to me. There's no defects on it whatsoever. This one is guided at 48 to 54,000. Or maybe you've always fancied the Johnny Cotto version, which is this one, which came in this very distinctive paint. The colour-coded wheels, so the centre and the same as the body colour. And it was the first time we saw this sort of jutted out front spoiler, a sort of extender air dam on it. He won the European Touring Car Championship. BMW did this as a sort of celebration. It's also 1989, so these two cars are the same price. You do pay a premium to have the Johnny Cotto versions, and this one is guided at 65 to 75,000 pounds. I can't miss out that Airstream behind though. Look at it, Airstream Classic. 30, well, over, I've just pasted out, it's 11 of my stride, so 33, 34 foot long Airstream. It looks as though it belongs in the 70s or something. This is actually a 1992 example. And I just absolutely love this thing. I can't believe the sort of bare aluminium. You imagine the amount of metal polish you need for this. If you're wondering where the door is, well, you don't actually get a door at the front either side. You get in and out of it here, up in the steps. It's all been reupholstered on these. I've done a holidays in Canada hiring RVs. This is the classic RV. Compared to modern RVs that have sliders, there's actually another RV in this sale actually outside. It's too big to get in here. They have sliders and make them sort of wider. This one doesn't, it just goes long. So you have a sort of a president's suite bedroom at the end, toilet, kitchen, lounge area, etc. And if you have guests stay, well, they have to take the sofa down here. And then you have these awnings that come out here. I don't know, it's madness, but they're quite popular while this coronavirus is around. This is the ultimate thing to go away in. And I think it's guided at reasonable money. I think I'll have to have a quick look where it is. Yeah, this is guided at 75 to 85,000, but go find another. I just wanted to show you this Jaguar E-Type. This is one of the very early ones. This is 1964, Series 1, 3.8. And that's sort of all the magic numbers. It's not actually got the opening handles on the side. And it looks pretty smart to me, this one, when I had a look at it. Quite an interesting history. US car, lots of sales over there back in the early days. Came to the UK in 2014, converted to right-hand drive and repainted in this Carnal red. It was a gold metallic colour originally, and then the owner has spent quite a lot more just enhancing it, shall we say, for driving. So he's got slightly wider chrome wheels on it, bigger tyres, alternator, aluminium alloy, better brakes, 4-pot brakes, etc. And it's one of those things that it looks great to me, but it hasn't helped its value. And these are fetching a proper Series 1 3.8 or 150 plus, but this one is actually guided at 80 to 100,000 because it isn't original colour. It's all matching numbers, and it's got slightly wider wheels, and it's got better brakes and that sort of thing. So if you want an E-Type to drive and to go touring in, that looks a good one to me. But you can't help but ignore this little Fiat Abarth 595. Now this is original one, left-hand drive. This is a really early car as well, because it's got, you can tell an early car because it's got the suicide doors, as they're termed, front opening cars. This is 1964. Cute little things. Obviously I've got one. Even when they're Abarth, they're not exactly fire-breathing, these things. Engine all on show here, single carburettor, all original, proper Abarth, and they were telling me this has even got competition history from its early years, which is quite fun. But it's all kitted out. It is a road car. It's not stripped out race car. But I love how they help the cooling. If you look at these from the rear, you can see this extended sump. This is the way they sort of got extra oil capacity into it as well. A real piece of Italian racing history, and guided at 19 to 22,000 pounds. Right, I just wanted to show you this Porsche 928 S2 red manual car. A car I sort of know because it's owned by a friend, and we went out on a tour into Belgium with this car, so I have chased this around Europe. Utterly straight. He just loves 928. He's not a car dealer or anything, he's actually an art dealer. It behaved perfectly on tour. and at 77,000 miles, and I think guided at 27 to 32,000. It's a manual. It just is a proper drivable 928, and the S2 manual is a pretty good one sort of to pick out of the range. We'll have a look at another 928 here, much more expensive, much lower mileage, but I just like that one. Absolutely straightforward and a full sort of service history. Now here's another interesting Porsche. Now, 993 Carrera RS. I mean, these have shot up in value recently. I drove one quite recently, and I was surprised how lively it felt. It's 300 horsepower, normally aspirated, lightened, stiffened, beautiful seats. Those shell seats that you got in the 993 RS and the GT2 RS as well, with the body colour behind, body-coloured belts on it, etc., and the big wing. This has a slightly unfortunate history right at the beginning of its life, because within the first year it was delivered new to France and it had a bit of an off and it actually needed reshelling. But it was done at Porsche factory with an RS shell, and it is now, this is coming here, it's 34,000 miles I think, this car. Yes, 55,000 kilometres, and guided at 180 to 210,000 pounds, which is about 100,000 pounds off what an absolutely straight 30,000 mile Porsche 993 RS would fetch. So if you want one to use and to drive, save yourself 100,000 and get this one. Okay, well, if you like your Land Rover Defenders, whereas this is a wild one for you here. 2011 Defender, 5-door Defender long wheelbase, and the owner then decided what I want is more performance, and chucked out the diesel engine and shoved in a 5-litre 450 horsepower Ford V8 into it. Kept the manual gearbox. We heard this one start up earlier. You couldn't even talk in here. It was deafening, but it has a little switch on the exhaust. Beautifully trimmed inside, leather, etc. Wild thing. I mean, all made for road. Obviously, it's road tyres, much bigger tyres. But these are expensive cars to do this to. Yet this one is guided at 50 to 60,000 pounds, which would save you an awful lot of money. If you want the ultimate Defender performance version, well, there you go. There's some other interesting Range Rovers down here as well. This isn't a Range Rover you're ever going to see again. This Range Rover used to belong to Noel Edmonds, who commissioned it to be his mobile office. There was a £450,000 budget, apparently, to create this car. It's a P38 Range Rover, as you can see, unique on the side. You're not kidding, because when you get back here, and I open this up, you'll see that he was trying to make a mobile office. You can see all the aerials on the top, so you could speak, have, you know, it's sort of before we all got a mobile phone that does all this anyway, but he tried to do this as an office. And in the back, I can see the laptop sat there. There's a printer in the back as well. And the idea was he was going to rush from meeting to meeting, doing all his business from the back of this Range Rover. You don't have to pay £450,000 to buy this car now. I think it's guided at £15,000 to £18,000. Yeah, I hope it worked for him, but the world has sort of moved on. Completely different sort of Land Rover here. Series 1, I've got one of this. This is an 88-inch Series 1. They come in 80, 86 and 88. The ones that all the collectors seem to want is the 80-inch Series 1. I don't quite understand why, because it is one of the most uncomfortable cars to sort of drive, because all the pedals are so close and they're like organ stops in the floor. They come straight out the floor and it's all very peculiar. I've got an 86 because I actually want to use it, and we call it the mobile wheelbarrow on the farm. And I absolutely love it. Always starts. It's the guaranteed car to start. This is pretty straightforward. You save a lot of money over an 80. And the 88 was sort of the very last of the line with a little bit extra room inside. So all the things you want. It's got a bench seat in the back, and this is guided at 22 to 28,000. Or you can have a Suffix F Range Rover. Typical colour of these, white wheels, slightly, yeah, that it's not in the best of conditions when you look inside this thing, and the price reflects it, 12 to 15,000. So it's a bit of a restoration project, but a pretty straight one to start with. But what I really wanted to show you is this, a Spectre Defender, also a car I once owned, and these were made for the James Bond film Spectre, and they just had this incredible look winch rope, that's all standard on it, had the lights. I can tell a sort of original one because they actually, the stunt drivers demanded they had windscreen wiper with the fluid actually to wipe the screen, because they were doing a lot of chase scenes, and the sort of jets you normally get couldn't cope with the amount of rubbish that was getting chucked out at them. So that's how I tell an original one. They fetch a lot of money, these cars, and this one is actually road registered. They weren't road registered when Land Rover sold them off. The other way you can tell an original one, it's got a plate in the back, which I can see on here, because they had a foam tank they put on for the stunt driving to limit the amount of fuel, and you filled it up in the back of there, and it's all scratched up because they all had clamp-ons on their boots, and that sort of did the bodywork. They never thought about selling them off. But there you go. If you want a Spectre Defender, I think this one is guided at about 175 to 200,000 pounds. That's how much they fetch. They're an amazing statement, and sort of probably the ultimate Defender of them all. Now, I love this 1980 Capri 3 litre in the Fabergé Racing Brute 33 livery. See this racing at Goodwood. It's actually got an entry in the 2021 Goodwood Revival members meeting, this car. And it's been used in the Silverstone Challenge, Classic Challenge as well. Pretty competitive, these cars, and simple. You know, they're against a Rover SD1 and that sort of thing. Lots of spares to go with this car, but a real piece of history, and I think guided pretty sensibly at 85 to 95,000. Just the sort of car that's really getting a real following these days. There's quite a few of this. Is 2.7 RS replica. This car started out as a 3 litre SC 1980, and is now has a 2.4 mechanical injection engine in it, but looks the part. I do like the look of this car with its houndstooth interior, cloth interior. Absolutely looks the part, and the right registration. But what I really want to show you is this TVR. A TVR Tuscan Racer with a number plate on it. It's not currently MOT'd or anything. Now, this has a lovely history. This is one of the first Tuscan racers, owned by Colin Blower, who went on to win the championship a few times. A real gentleman racer, real character he was. And he had 2 of these, and this was sort of his project car, so he could practice that and keep the race car special as well. Rover V8, this is before it got the AJP V8 engine, so this is Rover V8. It's not a road car in any shape or means. It's got this giant roll cage on it, because that's how they got the stiffness in the car. There's no roof, there's no boot either. There's just a cutout, a sort of shave here just to show it was a boot once. That's your fuel. The suggestion is you could use this for hill climbing and that sort of thing. It would be a truly wild road car, perhaps more suited to track days, but I just love the history. This was TVR's colour, this purple metallic. Colin Blower is utter legend within TVR circles, and sort of fairly sensibly guided at 35 to 40,000 for a real piece of TVR history. And then we get the Ferrari 360 Challenge Stradale. First time I had a driving this car was as a car of the year in Italy, and our Italian editor of Evo had collected it from the factory, Marco. Amazing guy. We had such fun, and it is the noisiest, wildest 360 at the time. It basically has no silencer. It's enhanced, slightly lighter, very firm suspension, I remember from it, distinctive wheels, and they've obviously got a bit of a following. Quite a limited production car. This is actually a sticker, the original. Some of them you could option to have it in paint. But Marco was so in love with this car. He collected it from Ferrari, and when it came to the voting, we said, oh, you know, going to vote out of a maximum of 100. Marco, what do you vote the Ferrari? 100%. I said, no, Marco, you can't give a car 100%. 100. It is only 100%. And it was that sort of car. If you're Italian at heart and you like Italian cars, well, this is a really wild car. This one's got 40,000 miles on it and guided at 135 to 155,000 pounds. It's a really nice Porsche 968 Club Sport. There's a bit of factory history with this. They think it's an original press car. Super tidy. It's 144,000 kilometres, but you'd never guess looking round it. It looks absolutely pin, and guided at 37 to 47,000 pounds. I love the lands in this colour. Looks super straight. I can just tell it's actually had a front nose job on it, which they all used to have. You put a nose section on here. I like the coupes as well. At the moment, they're undervalued, the coupe over the soft top. I think they look very elegant like that, but it was a very common thing to cut off the hard top to create a spider version. This one is guided at 32 to 36,000, so at least 10,000 off because it's got a hard top. What else have we got? Oh yeah, I mean, God, where do you stop? Where do you see one of those again? This is the 1970 Ford Capri RS 2600. This was a bit of a homologation special for the Touring Car Championship back then. You used to see these competing against the BMW CSLs. There's one over there I've noticed. We're going to have a look at that in a moment. And three-wheeling the way around. And 2.5 was the hot Capri in Germany at times. It's a German car in its life. And they put injection on it. It was really early days of fuel injection. If you look at it, it almost great big pipes going into it. But it gave it 150 horsepower, which was quite a lot in those days. 4-speed gearbox, a real piece of Ford history, this one. Apparently it's got an amazing history file, and I sort of really quite like the colours on it. But I really want to show you, there's a very special car over here, which I've never seen before, actually UK registered. 2012 Fisker Karma. Now this was going to revolutionise cars. Fisker, he was a designer who was at Aston Martin. He was at Ford and Aston Martin, and then broke off because he saw electric was coming, and he brought out this Fisker, which is like, it always reminded me of the Maserati Gran Turismo or Aston Martin Rapide. It's that sort of size car, 4-seater coupe, 4 doors. What made this car so unusual was it was an electric car, but also with an engine. So it was 4-cylinder 260 horsepower engine up front that had 2 roles, mainly to charge the battery up, but also if you wanted extra horsepower, it would kick in, giving you just over 400 horsepower car with both the electric and the engine going at the same time. And I think it never quite got into production. There was always some hiccup. We didn't actually get to drive one at EVA, I don't remember. But I thought it was a very elegant car. And then Tesla came along and sort of stole the party and got electric cars, and Fisker quietly disappeared. So distinctive though. The roof is one giant solar panel. When you come up to it, all you see is this solar panel that then charges the battery as well. Inside is this vast ridge, because the batteries were through the middle. It's sort of, this opens, it's an electric door opening. You can see this giant tunnel that goes down the middle. So sort of 4 individual seats in this car, frameless doors. And this is a UK registered Fisker. And it's been, I'm trying to think how many miles it's done. Has it done, yeah, 18,000 miles, a total output of 402 horsepower, this car, and guided at 45 to 50,000 pounds for a very exceptional, distinctive car. Well, it's a right old mix down here. We've got the British on the left-hand side, and on the right we've got the Germans over there, and Mercedes. But I just want to have a look at this. Is a typical dilemma when you come to these sort of auctions. Here we are, quite a very presentable V12 E-Type Roadster, one of the last of the productions, 1973, and this one's come in from USA, British registered, obviously, 95,000 miles, but utterly pristine. It's got certificates, all the rest of it. 50 to 60,000 pounds for that. Or do you look at this Bentley Continental GTC, beautiful colour combination, magnolia leather, black, etc. And this one is guided at 40 to 45,000 miles because it's only done 4,000 miles in its life. There's 2 ways of spending roughly 40, 50,000 pounds. How do you choose between them? But I just wanted to also show you this Triumph GT6 Mark II. I have a little bit of history. When I was at school, we're just turning 17, 18, we're all buying cars. And one of my best mates bought one of these cars. And this was a sort of coupe version with the straight 6 2-litre Triumph engine. It was like a mini E-Type coupe and very racy when you were 17 years old. And we thought we were king of the hill. My parents took an instant dislike to me and Colin going out in this car and insisted that we wear crash helmets every time we went out in it, which we duly donned when he came round to my house and we were going out. So, oh yeah, I'll put my crash hat on, which we went down the road, waved goodbye to Mum, went round a corner and obviously took our crash helmets off and put them in the back. But I have very fond memories of these. It has this creamy 2-litre 6-cylinder engine sound with it, 4-speed gearbox. All I remember, it sort of rattles and squeaks and went okay. It's probably 9 seconds to 16 and 120 miles an hour. Great to see one again. I particularly like this sort of early, sort of clean rear end. They got a later one which I thought was Mark II, which had a cleaner sort of different, wider set. This is the early one with this little lights, little indicators, a different look, which I always thought was the Mark I. I need to check my Triumph GT6 history books. Twin pipes as well. This one is guided at, I think, around the £30,000 mark. 25 to £30,000, but it's a very tidy one indeed. God, there's so much to look at. TR250, that's a sort of also a straight 6 engine with the hard top on it as well. Centre fuel cap. Oh, where do you start? The Germans have come back in. The Golf GTI in white. This was a real Sloane Street Square sort of special. All white, white interior. Quite mad. Yeah, a little bit of history of this one. So David, Jason, OBE, bought this for his partner. They had it in Wales. It's 22,000 miles from new. They were such a statement. This is 1987 and guided at 18 to 22,000 pounds. But there's one car, I just love this. This Bentley here, this T2 we have here, sorry, T1, 1976, had a very famous owner. This was Michael Winner's car. And he did a sort of, well, he was a film producer, best known as, but he also did a restaurant critique column in the Sunday Times. And he was driven in this with his chauffeur and his lovely partner, and then he did critique. So it sort of appeared, these are sort of early days of celebrity, and this car was the one he rocked around in. He always used to put it in the copy. I went in the Bentley and it is pristine. This car has had £40,000 spent on it. You know, obviously I have the Arctic rolls. I dearly wish mine was in the same condition as this. It's done 112,000 miles. And do not dismiss any Rolls-Royce Shadow 1 or 2 or Bentley T1 or 2 with miles on. If they've been driven, they do a world of good. The engine does not wear out. Forget about the engine. It's suspension and brakes and all that sort of thing are the issues with these. And if you have them sitting, the brakes need a complete rebuild, whether you like it or not. They just don't like sitting, this high pressure system. So I don't mind the miles on this. I love the colour combination, and I'd quite like to go home with this one. It's guided at 27 to 32,000 pounds, but what a piece of history and an utterly perfect car. If you like this sort of car, there's actually a 2-door Bentley over there, T2, that's been beautifully restored, about £40,000 spent on it. But I've not time to show you that one. Anyway, let's have a look further down here. Let's have a look, go back to the German corner. Now, I just wanted to show you this one. This is a 1990 Mercedes 500 SEC. So this is the coupe version of the S-Class. And they seem so impossibly elegant in their day. More expensive than the S-Class. This was a real premium car. Had all electric everything. Obviously pillarless as well, coupe, beautifully upholstered seats in the back. And the 5-litre V8 engine as well, 150 plus performance. You just don't see them like this, and they really suit this AMG wheel as well. This one is guided at 18 to 25,000 pounds. I think it's worth that all day long, because to find one as clean as that is rare. It's 72,000 miles. It's even got the dealer sticker in the rear window, which is really nice. Another one, which is undoubtedly going to become a real classic of its time, is the Mercedes here, this SLS. I love these. Normally aspirated engine, 6.3 litre, 568 horsepower, are they? Or tell me on here, my 563 horsepower, 197 miles an hour, and the gull wing doors. Very low mileage, this one. I think it's 6,000 miles, is it? from new, and I'll find it in a minute, 6,900 miles from new and guided 125 to 145,000 pounds. You're probably just like me, kicking myself for not buying them when they're just around the £100,000 mark, but are still a great car even at that price. Now, there's a real gaggle of 911s over here. So many in this sale, it's hard to know where to start, really. Early 964 Carrera 4 here. I love this 930 Turbo. Guards red, black leather, perfect combination. 1987 car, 4-speed. It's got recommissioned. It had 12 years, 15 years storage and then been recommissioned. It's about 50,000 miles, and the price of these have sort of just slightly softened. 75 to 85,000 for that car, but looks really nice. And then you're getting these sort of two cars, these two silver 911s here. This is a 2.4T and an early one because it's got the oil fill on the side here. Again, full restoration on this car. This is the classic look of 911, so pre-impact bumpers, sort of round look, early 911 look. After all that money spent on it, it's guided at 60 to 70,000 pounds. Again, softening of about 20, 30,000 pounds if you want one of those. Or I think I would pick this one. This is a 3-litre SC, completely plain, silver, black, no sunroof, pinstripe interior, no wings, etc. on it. Fully restored, coming from Japan. Lowest mileage, sorry, I can't tell you the mileage on it, but guided at 30 to 40,000 pounds. Just a classic 911 that will just always work, and it's not trying to be an ultimate track day car, but just a great, what made 911 so usable is all summed up for me in that car. And you've got a wild one here. Now this is a 1974, so this has the 2.7 MFI engine in, so mechanical fuel injection engine, in this very distinctive colour, which apparently was on the Motor Show car that year, and the original owner of this said, I like that, but I'm going to have a Targa top one. This one has also been fully restored and has won lots of concours events, huge amount of history with it, and I think it sort of suits it. This is, I just want to check the year, is it 1974, this car? I think I'll just grab this. Yeah, 1974, this car, at 100 to 120,000 pounds. Now, you've got the 210 horsepower engine in this, so the same as the 2.7 RS, the infamous car, but in a Targa top and a very distinctive colour. Where else? Which other ones are we going to have a look at? It's so hard to choose which GT3 Porsche to go for, but I think this is one, possibly my pick of the bunch, and this is a 997 Gen 2 GT3. I think that they're just the sweet spot. They were smaller, hydraulic steering, beautiful handling, and the wild engine, and just, yeah, better value, 100, 120,000 pounds. They've got knock-on wheels as well. I just think that's a good buy at that. You're going to have so much fun with that, so usable. There's everything here, you know, turbo, 993 turbo. This Sport Classic, this was a proper limited run car, very distinctive look, and with this slightly double bumper, double bubble roof, Zagato style as well. Collectible, didn't have uber horsepower or anything, but just a very distinctive 911, and yeah, guided at 240 to 280,000 pounds. Just shows you how much people like these sort of limited run Porsches. What I really want to show you is an ultra limited run Jaguar over there. Now, it's the first time I've seen one of these in an auction. This is the Jaguar XK RS GT, an ultra limited run Jaguar. I think there's 45 in all of these cars were produced back in the day, 2014. And they were the sort of forerunner of where Jaguar then launched this SVO division, Special Vehicle Operations. This internal division that created this were called ETO, Engineered to Order, but it was always internal rather than external facing. And they wanted to see just how far they could take the Jaguar XKR. And this was the result. Lots of work at the Nürburgring, hence the little winglets, the aggressive splitter at the back, huge wing at the back as well. And what got me, they got 550 horsepower out of the engine and they put louvers on it. One of my biggest disappointments was this. I would have loved that to be in body coloured so you could actually see the sort of E-Type-esque louvers on the bonnet. You just, on a modern car, you just never see it like that. And also, engineers told me this is basically the base for the cars like the Jaguar Project 7 and things, the front suspension. What they learnt on this car then went into the special project cars as well. 18,000 miles on this car. I think there's 10 examples of these in the UK out of the 45 run. Put that in perspective, 45 cars total. That makes it rarer than a Jaguar D-Type. And this car is guided at about 100 to 120,000 pounds. But of a piece of Jaguar history, and they were mega to drive as well, that's a really good choice to tuck away for it to come out in future. Nice to see it here. But I love this 928 here. Now this is a different version of 928 I didn't know existed. This is a S4 Sport. It's like the Club Sport version of the 928. So 5-litre engine in this era. This is 1988, I think. Yeah, 1988. I think this is super low miles. It's just 10,000 miles from new, this car. Owned by the Egyptian Embassy, manual. So think of it as they went to a GT, a 928 GT with a 5.4 litre. This came before that, 1988. Superb spec, pinstripes, seats, etc., and say the manual gearbox. It's if you're a 928 connoisseur, this might be a one, but that low mileage does give it quite a high guide. It's guided at 60 to 70,000 pounds for a special car. Super special cars over here as well. If you're watching earlier, you saw that white M3 road car. These are the other two cars owned by Nick Well that are in this one lot of 3 Ultimate M3s. There's this one, the Circuit Racer one, touring car. This is one of 55 Group A cars sold by BMW to sort of privateer teams. You can tell by the chassis number, and it's been campaigned throughout since then. It's sort of widely recognised as one of the very best race-prepped M3s there are. Constant racing. I can't believe Nick's getting rid of this because he has such fun. He shares the car with his son, etc. And it's guided 175 to 195,000 pounds. Or if rallying is your thing, well, he's got this one for sale in the same lot as well. So this tarmac rally car, FI papers, etc., quite often is racing. Last year he did 2 or 3 rounds, Mallorca, Corsica, that sort of thing. Slightly less for this one, 100 to 120,000 pounds. But what a collection of M3s, road, rally or race, all in one lot. Oh, look at these for some rally cars. Now here's a rally car I didn't even know existed. I know this 6R4, well, we'll come to, this one is Malcolm Wilson's car from the Lombard Rally. Superb history. One of the most successful 6R4s ever competed in the rally. Before we get to that, I just want to show you this one, because what I didn't realise is Tony Pond and another engineer, I'll get his name right in a minute, David Appleby, decided the 6R4 could go even further. They wanted to smooth off the bodywork to make it more aerodynamic. They actually stretched the wheelbase on it, and this is a Dam 4100. This one actually hasn't got the stretched wheelbase. This is a sort of the mule car used in a 6R4. But when I was looking through the spec of this car, what got me is it has a 2.5 litre normally aspirated engine producing 295 horsepower at 10,250 RPM. Screamer, over 10,000 RPM, this car. It's a bit of history. It's 145 to 155,000 pounds, but if you've got proper money to spend, then this is the one. As I say, one of the most successful rally 6R4s in existence. Ex-works cars, still with the sort of slight batterings from its period racing. It's done so much, this car. It's constantly reliable, never failed to finish a rally. 410 horsepower, 4-wheel drive, original unrestored condition. 475 to 550,000 pounds. That is the most expensive car in this sale. But what a piece of history, Malcolm Wilson's 6R4 from the Lombard RAC Rally. These are all from one collection, and these are the Turbo 2, the Renault Turbo 2 crazy Renaults, the mid-engined 1.4 litre engines in them, and the rally specials with works history. Ex-John priced this one 240,000 to 280,000 pounds, widely campaigned in the UK and period. This one This one is even nuttier because this is known as a super production car. Renault wanted to see what else they could do to this car, and it went to a specialist and they widened the track even further and lowered it. You can see, sort of see the ride height, and this was for circuit racing. So this is sort of the fire-breathing Turbo 2 of all. Apparently when you start it up, you get proper flames constantly coming out of this car. 300 to 350,000 pounds, but such a famous car. Or you get this one. This is a Turbo Group 4 car. So this is one of the most significant Turbo 2s in existence. 297 horsepower from its 1.4 litre engine, this one. Campaign and all sorts, obviously the Monte Carlo Historic Rally, it's campaigning in 340 to 380,000 pounds. I can't go through all the history of these cars, we'll be here all day, but a real significant collection of Turbo 2 rally cars. Or you may want just your regular road car, which I don't blame you. 1983, this one. Nice colour combination, looks very honest, and it's white, red interior, 55 to 65,000 pounds. So many cars, well, I can't help but show you. Look, a Bat car. I mean, this is actually a homage to the original Batmobile. But it was made from a BMW 3-litre CSL, so it's got all the right bits on it. They were sort of add-on to put the big wing and the rear spoiler on it and the spats. Just such a distinctive, iconic race car from the 1970s, and this one's guided 100 to 120,000 pounds, which is about right for a CSL, but about half the price of a true Batmobile with this sort of. Okay, right. Final few cars over here. Two very special Lancias here. This F&M Special. So this is a replica of a Lancia Fulvia that raced in the Targa Florio and won its class. Crazy looking things, almost like a mini D-Type or something. Or, I think it's not a lot of money this. I mean, it needs a little bit of tidying up. So 35 to 40,000 pounds for that. Or a really honest 1.3 HF, so Fulvia rally car. This is being competed, one guy's owned this for a lot of time. 1.3 litre rather than 1.6 HF, made for rally. Does need a little bit of TLC on it, but they're guided at 20 to 25,000 pounds. I'm really loving my Fulvia. There is something about the front wheel drive nature of them. They're like an Italian sort of Mini with a bit more suspension travel and just an iconic sort of rally car, junior rally car. But what I really want to show you, have a look at this M1 here, this BMW M1. Okay, well, the final car in the sale I'm going to feature is this, the BMW M1. But this is a very special M1, as you'll get to see in a moment. Now, the M1, as I'm sure you know, is made for racing. BMW engaged with Lamborghini, Giugiaro design, and they came with this a straight 6 engine that you used to get in the M5 of its period, 286 horsepower. And they went racing with it. And the racers got a sort of pro car kit. And the original owner of this car in Germany says, well, that looks really good. I want that on my M1 as well. So back just when it was new, he had this pro car kit put on it with the big wing at the back. It looks spectacular. Red with the black interior suits it perfectly. The gentleman, the original owner of this car, was also so happened to be a record producer, and his was also the voice of Boney M. So you'll see Boney M at the bottom there. That's why that's there on the number plate. And inside there's quite a sound system as well. I think it looks utterly wonderful. Such a shame they didn't do it in period really and all the regular road cars. But a great look on this car. It's guided at 385 to 435,000. So quite an expensive piece of history. But look at it. So there you go. There's a look around this Silverstone auction sale. Huge fun. So many cars I've missed out, but they're all on the website. I suggest have a look at Silverstone Auctions website. They're all listed there, all the details. And if there's anything that takes your fancy, and I can't believe there won't be, well then you've got to register to bid if you want to be part of the auction. And if you know, the viewing is tricky at the moment. Trade can view because it's business to business, but otherwise just phone up one of the consigners, as they term, the people who've got the cars here. They'll give you a walkthrough, FaceTime, whatever, through the cars, and that's how we're going to have to do it while we've got these lockdown situations. So the sale, Friday the 13th of November, easy one to remember, and Saturday the 14th of November, the 2 sale days, all from the pavilion, the start of the day. All will be online, all screened online. There you go. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, well, keep watching, keep subscribing. More videos coming along very soon.